Advantages and Disadvantages of Verbal and Nonverbal Communication by Cuyos, Michos, Mintulan, Baite Computer 1A, date September 21, 2020. Verbal communication. In many personal meetings between people, that starting time of conversation is very important because the first impression has an impact on further success and further communication. Verbal communication is indeed crucial to learn that good oral communication cannot be fully ignored from non-oral communication in the form of our body, languages, tone of the sound, and the expression of the face. Speaking with clarity, being silent and focused, being well behaved, and following some of the general rules of behavior altogether will help in process of oral or verbal communication. The verbal part of communication refers to the words that we choose and how they are heard and interpreted. Here the advantages of verbal. Number 1, communication. Number 2, saves a lot of time. Number 3, saves money too. Number 4, get feedback quickly. Number 5, clarity of method. Disadvantages of verbal communication. Following are the disadvantages of verbal communication. Emotions are visible and hence leads to trouble in certain cases. It has no legal validity and hence will lead to problem in certain situations. It does not provide permanent record unless it is recorded with modern means to storage. It has issues when communicating with distant people. It is difficult for certain people to understand speech due to various speech tones used in verbal communication. This form of communication is suitable for lengthy message. Example of verbal communication. Number 1, oral communication, which includes what we speak to others in the form of words. Written communication, which includes we write in the form of words. Listening skills, this includes how we listen to others. Mediated communication, which includes the World Wide Web for searching data. Nonverbal communication, which includes body language, confidence, and etc. Number 2, chatting with your friends and colleagues, having face-to-face talk with your team leader, senior, junior, or boss at workplace. Communication between teacher and students, religious, preaching, or sermon. Nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication refers to the way in which being convey information about their emotions, needs, intention, attitudes, and thoughts without the use of verbal language. Advantages of nonverbal communication. Number 1, provides clarity. Number 2, nonverbal communication can substitute for verbal communication. Number 3, useful for illiterate people. Number 4, useful for specially abled people. Number 5, impactful and effective. Disadvantages of nonverbal communication. Number 1, imprecise and vague. Number 2, long conversation are not possible. Number 3, meaning varies across cultures. Number 4, might distort information. Example of nonverbal communication. Number 1, written words. Writing is an example of nonverbal communication that can allow us to express complex thoughts, requests, and ideas. The written word can also be helpful when communicating between two people. As an example, you may see someone write down two options and on a piece of paper and the other person will point to which option they prefer. That's how the written word and gestures can be used together to form a rich non-verbal. Number 2, electronic devices. As a term of speech therapist, we know how powerful it can be when someone gets access to an electric device that supports their ability to communicate with others. The example of nonverbal communication is best described as a form of aided ACC as as it's an electronic device especially, this would make it a high-tech option. Some of electronic devices that fall into this category can be used by taping of picture symbols on a screen, whereas others can be controlled through the use of an eye gaze tracking setup for those who have limited muscular control due to disability or injury. Differences between verbal and nonverbal communication. The main difference between verbal and nonverbal communication is that in verbal communication, thoughts or emotions or information is exchanged between individuals through the use of speech. Nonverbal communication refers to signals transmitted through facial expressions, posture, eye contact, gesture, tone of voice, body language, and other ways. Any interaction where a person uses the words to converse, then it's recognized as a verbal communication. Nonverbal communication is also considered as an indirect method through which people communicate with others without using words or language. Comparison of verbal and nonverbal communication. Verbal communication through words, tone, sound, and etc. Nonverbal conversation through signs, gesture, body language, proxemics, haptics, and etc. Verbal most of the time clear understanding of the message. Nonverbal complicated and sometimes confusing. Verbal clear understanding, a feedback is possible. Nonverbal helps to understand feelings, emotions, mental status of the speaker. Verbal delivered through letters, reports, phone calls, and etc. Nonverbal conveyed through body language, facial expression, eye contacts, and etc.